YOLO, guys. This is me, Found Popcorn, founding Popcorn, Found Popcorn 798 here with a new series to my channel called Popcorn Time. Popcorn Time is where I'll just sit down, talk to you about a verses of my personal opinion, obviously, and some of the research that I've seen on the internet. Or I sit down and talk to you about some lore from Lord of the Rings, or from Star Wars, or alternative history, what should have happened, what might have happened, what could have happened, what if something was taken away or added to the Star Wars, or any of the universes. In this series, guys, we're going to be doing a classic one that I seen a bit on YouTube, and I want to do it myself. Now, I am no way all knowledgeable about this, what I'm about to say. If I get things wrong, I get things wrong. Let me know down in the comment section, guys. This is just my personal opinion. This is not canon or anything, obviously. This is my personal opinion. But in this series, guys, we're going to be doing a classic. We're going to be doing the USS Enterprise, led by Captain Kirk, versus the Imperial 2 Mark the Star Destroyer. Both very good ships in their own rights. Obviously, there's a big size difference, obviously. What with the Mark II being about 10 times the Enterprise's size alone, but what what the Enterprise has in its favour is its speed. Unlike the Star Destroyer, well, the Star Destroyer is a lot bigger. It's a lot slower in manoeuvrability than the USS Enterprise. And the Enterprise has a few more tricks up its sleeve compared to the Star Destroyer. Look at what Captain Picard says in season 2, if I remember correctly, where lasers which is what Star Wars universes use, is nothing compared to phasers. It just bounces off the shields. It does barely any damage to the shields. Um, so while that is very interesting to know, I've got to say it's still two different universes, and people base that quite a lot on, oh, it's lasers. That means the Enterprise is going to win. I don't think so, guys. Remember, these are two different universes where lasers are completely different in the Star Wars universe of how they would work in the Star Trek universe. The Star Trek universe lasers worse than worse than the Star Wars lasers. You don't know. It's different technology. The Star Wars universe is so far technology advanced than most races. I don't mean that horrible to Star Trek. Then the Star Trek universe is ridiculous. I mean, but so saying that, guys, it might be the other way around. The Star Trek lasers might be more powerful than Star Wars lasers. So saying, so I'm going to base this off that the Star Trek shields can hold up against the Star Wars lasers. Just for the moment, let's go on the basis that all lasers, including the Star Wars lasers, bounce off their deflectors, their shields. If we look at the USS Enterprise NCC 1701, you can see its main systems of defense and attack. Its phasers. The phaser is a directed energy weapon that came into general use on Starfleet vessels between 2254 and 2265. Ship phasers had an effective range of 300,000 kilometers and were used in sublight combat. The USS Enterprise's main phaser banks were located on the lower half of the saucer section. Now, what that says to me straight away, guys, does that paragraph there is saying that the Enterprise has got a lot more range compared to the Imperial 2 class Star Destroyer. It's faster. Its weapons are underneath, so it's gonna be harder to hit the weapons from this Mark II, because most weapons in the Star Wars universe are actually on top of the ship, which is, in my personal opinion, a bit of a mistake because they're easily targeted. The Enterprise overcomes this by simply putting it under the ship where it can't be as easily targeted. Also, so saying that, marked with the weapons being underneath as well, it gives it more of a firing arc compared to the weapons being on top, because the weapons have to point down and they've only got limited range. If something is on top of them or above the ship in Star Wars, then it's got a lot more range and everything. It's got a lot more range to shoot at the ship. It's got everything to shoot at. But if it's shooting downwards, it's got a lot. It hasn't got as much range like like the weapons on the USS Enterprise. Um, Now I do not know the range properly of the Star Wars Imperial 2 class Star Destroyer. So let's read its weapon systems and components. Like all Imperial class vessels, Imperial 2 star class Star Destroyers were armed with 60 turbo laser batteries, 60 Heaven ion cannons emplacements, and 10 tractor beam projectors. That is a lot more weapons than the USS Enterprise. Um, it's got 60 turbo lasers and 6 heavy ion cannon emplacements, which is roughly, I would say, let's look at the ion cannon. Let's just click on the ion cannon in a second. Now that is the ion cannon. So it's got 6 of these bad boys. Obviously, not that size. Obviously, inside of the Star Destroyer, and that, guys, can take, as you can see, guys, disable ships, as you see um, in the episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. You see that weapon in use with the rebels against the Empire, where it disabled the Imperial ships and the rebels were able to escape with their transports. Um, so you see that on the actual stars, on in effect. Um, so that by itself is quite deadly. The ship carried with them 72 TIE line starfighters, 8 Lambda Class T4 shuttles, and 20 all-terrain armored transports, and 30 all-terrain scout transports. So, already, guys, which is something the Star Trek universe doesn't do, as far as I can tell, guys. They don't have any fighters, which, in my problem, plays a key role in ship-to-ship combat. Look at nearly every single what's the word I'm looking for? Sci-fi um, things, galactic scale thing, Mass Effects. They've got fighters along with their big ships. Star Wars, big fighters, fighters along with their big heavy ships. Star Trek, no fighters at all. I mean, they have occasional shuttles, but I don't class those as fighters because they don't not many of them, and they're more of a transport vessel than an actual ship, a ship to ship, a fighter. So it's more. So for that, guys, I'm not going to class those into the effects against this versus. Um, so on overwhelming odds, this is something that the Empire does a lot, and quite a lot of the bad guys in the Star Wars universe. Over the good guys, the bad guys typically go for overwhelming odds rather than quality, while the good guys go for quality rather than quantity. And you see that effect in most laws you follow, like Lord of the Rings or um, Star Wars, definitely Star Trek. All these, anything you watch is good versus evil. They always believe quantity over quality, and Empire is no different. While their ships are big and powerful, but their fighters are weak and can easily be taken down. The simple TIE fighter, what this ship has got, can easily be taken out by one of the phases of the USS Enterprise or by one of their shuttles if they happen to have some on board. I'm not going to count shuttles because most ships didn't in Star Trek didn't carry shuttles, and if they did, it'd be one or two, making exception to the USS Enterprise in Star Trek Next Generation. they had a couple of shuttles, but not all ships had shuttles. If I remember correctly, let me know if I'm wrong about that, guys, in the comment section down below. Um, but let's say they do not have a shuttle. The USS Enterprise was on a recon mission um, down in Klingon territory. Let's just say that, and he was just doing a little simple recon mission over there, Captain Kirk. Because I believe in this time period this Enterprise is around is the Klingons and the Starfleet are at war. I don't know. I have not watched all of Star Trek. I'm still watching Star Trek, guys. So I'm not all knowledgeable with Star Trek as I am compared to Star Wars. I know quite a bit about Star Wars. But I believe in that time period they were at war. I've not watched the old generation show properly yet. I'm watching the new current show, the next generation at the moment, and Deep Space Nine, and I'm about to watch the classic. But anyway, I'm leaving off the thing. So let's just say they do not have a shuttle on the ship. This ship has got, as you see, loads of fighters. It's got a Star Destroyer, and but like I said, it's not going to do much. Still, in my personal opinion, against the shields of the USS Enterprise. Deflector shields were energy fields used to protect the Enterprise from deliberate attack and dangerous spaceborne debris. Deflector shields can be raised to different levels of strength. Lower levels can repel space debris. High levels can protect the ship from enemy weapons. Shield strength is weakened by repeated attacks but can withstand several phaser or disruptor blasts from enemy vessels. Let's stop there. Right, it clearly says it can withstand several attacks from phaser or disruptor blast, but the Star Destroyer is not using phasers; it's using lasers. It clearly says that it can withstand several continuous blasts from phasers or disruptors, a continuous assault, but eventually the shields will be weakened. These are 60 cannons on here. Of lasers, and that's not going to do much, in my personal opinion, against the USS Enterprise's shields at all. Even with my personal opinion, with the TIE fighters, it's not going to do much, in my personal opinion. The lasers, if we go on the basis of what Picard says, that the lasers are nowhere near as good as phasers, and their shields is even better because of the phasers. So if we're going on the basis that all lasers, no matter what history you follow, are weak compared to phasers, then it's not going to do much against the shields of the USS Enterprise at all, nowhere near. But if we go off so we're sticking to that basis. Now there's one thing that Star Wars usually do. They don't usually send one ship. They don't. They usually send 2 to 3 ships. They start with the Imperial 2 class Star Destroyer with a couple of frigates as well. So let's go over the basis. They're sending a fleet down. It's not even a fleet. They're sending their usual armada down onto a planet in the Klingon territory, and the USS Enterprise goes in to recon the area. What happens in this particular battle? Now, in my personal opinion, what would happen is the US Enterprise would win, and that's if we go on the basis that all lasers don't do nowhere near as much as phasers, and they can't really penetrate the shield. So let's go off that basis for the moment. No matter what ships they have, I think the U.S. Enterprise would win. It's got its photon torpedoes. It's got its lasers, which can fire all at great range. I mean, its photon torpedoes can fire at 750,000 kilometers, and the shields can. And the phasers can fire at 350,000 kilometers away, and that isn't going to do a lot more damage compared to the Star Destroyers and the frigates and the TIE fighters because of its range alone. After a while, when a laser's being shot from the cannons, they get weakened and they go all over the place. They're not accurate. They're not accurate at all. They fly all over the place. Um, which is one thing what the Enterprise has over. While the weapons fire slower, it's a continuous bang on the thing onto the target it's shooting at. It's a really advanced computer system they've got. Um, so if we go on this basis, the U.S. Enterprise would win, hands down. It would win. But however, if we go on the basis that it's a different universe Star Wars comes from, completely different universe where the lasers work differently compared to the USS Enterprise's lasers, then the Star Wars universe would win. You got to remember, guys, we will never properly know who would win, guys, in a 1v1 until they ever do a movie about it, guys. Until they ever do a movie, a little silly little movie with Star Wars versus Star Trek, we won't properly know who would win in a 1v1. We can only speculate what would happen. And this is just my personal opinion, guys. It depends on what universe we follow. And if we go off the basis that all lasers are weak compared to phasers and the deflector shields, then the Star Wars universe stands no chance. But if we go on the basis that the Star Wars universe technology is completely 100% different from all the Star Trek universe, which it is. Star Trek universe, the Star Wars universe, guys, has had thousands and thousands, if not millions of years to develop with its technology and get better over time. So they must be using lasers for a reason. If they've not gone from lasers to anything else for a while, the lasers must be doing considerable damage. And look what the lasers do, guys, in Star Wars. I mean, the Death Star alone blow up an entire planet. Alderaan, I can't pronounce the name, guys. The one that Princess Leia comes from, I can't pronounce names. Alderaan, not Alderaan, that's from freaking Dragon, Skyrim. You know the planet I'm talking about, guys. I can't pronounce the name. It begins with an A, I believe. But it blew up in the Princess Leia's home planet by itself. And look at what it did in Rogue One, guys. It crippled that planet. So their lasers and technology is so much advanced compared and so different from the Star Wars universe. That is ridiculous. My personal opinion. But if we're saying that all lasers are weak compared to the Star Trek universe, guys, and the amount of damage you see from a laser in Star Wars, if all lasers are weak, then it makes you wonder, guys, how much damage a phaser does. If we go off the basis that lasers are weaker than phasers, and the lasers in Star Wars do that damage on a can do that amount of damage, it makes you wonder how much damage a phaser does in Star Trek if we go off that basis, guys. And that's where I'm going to leave this episode, guys. Who do you think would win, Star Wars or Star Trek? Now, that's my personal opinion, guys. It could go either way, depending on what law you follow, and what you believe in. But like I said, guys, we'll never properly know until someone does that series. 1v1 of that, like you do in some cases, like in those comics you see Star Wars versus Hulk versus Wolverine, and you even get some movies. I can't think of any on the top of my head, but we'll never properly know, guys, until someone does that. But you have been watching Popcorn Time, guys. If you've got any more suggestions down below, guys, let me know and I'll try and cover it. This will be a fairly regular series onto my channel, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed, and I'll see you next time, guys. Ciao for now.